unbelievable morning prayer revealed to strengthen your relationship with God today. Few knew what truly happened that night in the quiet village of Nazareth. The stars hung low and heavy in the sky, a celestial audience to what was about to unfold. Mary, a young girl with dreams woven from the threads of hope and fear, paced restlessly in her dimly lit home. Shadows danced on the walls like whispers of an unseen presence. A moment of silence swept through, as if the entire universe held its breath that it was here, in this humble setting, that an angel appeared. Luminescent and radiant, the being seemed to defy the very laws of nature. Mary's heart raced wildly. The air crackled with electric tension. Why this girl? Why now? The angel's voice was like the sound of rushing water, soft yet powerful. Greetings, favored one, he declared. But what could favor mean when the burden of such a message hung in the balance? Time and place seemed to blur. The village was nestled in an era of oppression. The Romans, heavy-handed and cruel, loomed over the Jewish people like a dark cloud. Faith was often a flickering candle, barely holding against the tempest of despair. Yet, Mary's unexpected encounter held the promise of revolution, a chance to ignite a flame that could not die out. Suddenly, doubt and fear gripped Mary. How can this be? She breathed, the weight of the world cradled in her trembling hands. Yet, the angel persisted with tales of miracles and destiny. The Holy Spirit will come upon you. The words hung heavy in the air, full of possibility and mystery. In that moment, a dilemma unfurled before her. The beauty of destiny clashing violently against the harsh realities of existence. What would her family say? Would she be cast out? A scandal? A shunned woman? The village would gossip mercilessly. Would her faith and courage be enough to carry her through the looming trials? Just as hope glimmered, darkness threatened. Fears rippled through her mind like a storm, the voices of doubt echoing louder than any promise made. What does it mean to be chosen? She wondered, each heartbeat ringing in her ears. At a sudden intensity gripped the air, every moment teetering on the edge of fate. Mary sensed a profound shift. Could prayer guide her through the storms that were to come? The answers felt just out of reach, teasing her with possibilities, sparking an insatiable hunger for understanding. What would she choose? To embrace the path laid out before her, or to retreat into safety and silence? The night loomed large, yet within her burned an echo of divine promise, calling her to respond. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the early light of dawn began to filter through the crevices of her home, Mary remained lost in contemplation, the angel's message echoing in her mind. The world outside was awakening, unaware of the divine dialogue that had transpired in quietude. She dared not move, rooted in place by the weight of the revelation. Could she bear the burden of such glory, interwoven with the frailty of her existence? In her heart, a flicker of courage ignited, yet fear threatened to suffocate it. Her mind raced through the implications, swirling with questions about her future, her family, and the community that had shaped her. Would they accept her? Could she endure the ridicule and judgment for forsaking the expected path for one that felt impossibly monumental? The reality of carrying the Son of God weighed heavily upon her heart. Yet the promise resonated with a hopeful harmony among the dissonance. As she pondered, something stirring welled within. The ancient words of her people filtered through her thoughts, stories of old where the impossible became reality through unwavering faith. Sarah, who bore laughter and brought forth a nation. Moses, chosen to lead a people through the wilderness. Esther, who stood fearlessly for her own. each life transformed by a decisive moment of faith. Could she share in that lineage, that legacy of trust? Mary knelt in prayer, clutching her simple garment, seeking solace in the divine presence. Her soft murmurs cut through the morning silence, a humble cry for strength and guidance. God of my ancestors, grant me wisdom. Help me to understand this calling, to embrace what lies ahead. If this is indeed your will, may it unfold with clarity and courage. In that sacred moment, a powerful stillness enveloped her, as if the heavens themselves were listening. She felt the weight of eternity upon her shoulders and a flicker of peace amidst the tempest. It was not merely a challenge. It was an invitation to become a vessel of hope and grace. Yet, doubt still loomed, an ever-present shadow. The thought of Joseph, her betrothed, twisted like a thorn in her heart. How would he receive this news? Would he stand by her side or falter under the weight of societal expectations? This grace was a heavy cloak, and yet her soul yearned to break free. The intricacies of love and trust now took on new dimensions, and she wondered if her own faith would spark faith within him. As she rose, the sun had fully climbed the horizon, casting warm rays across the earth, illuminating the path ahead. Mary gazed out at the village below, a tapestry of life woven with hopes and dreams. Would her choice bring salvation or condemnation? With new resolve, she knew she must seek Joseph, to share the light of the angel's words with him, to begin this journey side by side. As she stepped cautiously into the day, the flicker of divine purpose urged her forward, yet a question lingered in her heart. If bearing this truth meant facing all the darkness of the world, what would she discover about herself in the light of faith, in the struggle of her choices? What did it truly mean to carry hope amidst the shadows? With the dawn's light strengthening, Mary made her way towards Joseph's workshop, her heart racing in harmony with the rhythm of her steps. The village was still waking, the sounds of morning blending into a soft melody. Yet, amidst the cacophony of life, Mary felt an overwhelming sense of isolation, a poignant reminder that this path she walked was unlike any other. Each footfall seemed to summon both fear and anticipation, twin forces tugging at her spirit. As she approached the simple wooden structure where Joseph toiled, the scent of fresh wood shavings wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of the morning. It was a familiar scent, one that had brought comfort in countless moments, and yet today it was charged with something far greater than the mundane. Destiny. Joseph was there, bent over a piece of wood, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was a man of quiet strength, marked by a humility that had drawn Mary to him from the beginning. She hesitated at the threshold, her breath caught in her throat as she wrestled with uncertainty. Would her words tumble forth like a river, flooded with divine truth, or would they falter like a whisper in the wind? Joseph, her voice broke the stillness, both an invitation and an offering of vulnerability. He looked up, his expression shifting from the focus of labor to the surprise of a beloved's presence. Mary? His voice was warm, a soft embrace that wrapped around her. You are here early. Is everything well? It felt like a gentle nudge, prompting her closer to revelation, yet fear pinioned her feet. She stepped inside, the door creaking as it opened, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of the world seemed to rest squarely on her shoulders. I have something to share, she began, her heart racing. I have seen the angel of the Lord. His eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief mingling with concern. An angel? The very word seemed strange upon his lips, heavy with the authority of the divine. Yes, she articulated, the conviction rising from deep within. He told me that I am to bear a son, the Son of God. His name shall be Jesus. A silence enveloped them, deep and profound. Mary dared not look away from his eyes, seeking a sign of acceptance, a glimmer of faith to illuminate the shadows that threatened to swallow her whole. Joseph's gaze hung in the air like a fragile thread, bound by the weight of her revelation. Was he only contemplating the magnitude of her words, Or was he also processing the implications for their lives, the very fabric of their reality? How can this be? He whispered, his voice barely a breath. She felt each word pierce through the veil between their understanding, and an ache throbbed in her heart. Be why the Holy Spirit. Mary responded, her voice steadier now, buoyed by the holy purpose unveiled before her. This child will bring hope not just to us, but to the world. I know this truth feels impossible, yet I believe I am chosen for this. He turned away from her, his back rigid, fingers clenched tightly around the Wuda physical representation of his inner turmoil. The spectral shadow of doubt loomed large. Would he find her words blasphemous, the very notion akin to madness? In that moment, Mary understood that the faith she had cultivated must now become a bridge between them, a shared covenant forged in the fires of trust. Joseph, perhaps this is the mystery of faith, that what we see with our eyes may not reveal the fullness of God's plan. The stories of our ancestors were filled with dreams that seemed distant and unattainable. She stepped forward, her voice now carrying a gentle urgency. As they did before us, we too must believe in the impossible. Together, we can give this life the love it deserves. That he turned, looking into her eyes, searching for the truth she held. Moments stretched like an eternity as they stood poised at the precipice of a new chapter. What kind of man could accept such a staggering destiny, to nurture a child whose purpose transcended their own aspirations? Would he rise to meet the challenge or retreat into the safety of familiar walls? Finally, he exhaled, the tension releasing slowly like water finding its way through rocks. Mary, I admire your courage, but I am afraid. What will others say? Will they believe us? In time, perhaps belief is a journey we undertake together, she replied softly. I needed you to know this truth belongs to us both. As the sun traced arcs in the sky, lingering rays poured through the workshop, casting ethereal shadows that danced upon the walls. In that moment of vulnerability, hope and skepticism intertwined, a delicate tapestry upon which their lives now dangled. Mary wondered deeper into the mystery of love and faith intertwined with fear if they were to embrace this divine calling. What will it mean to dare to believe what seems unbelievable? And as she committed this desire to the universe, she couldn't help but wonder, how would their united faith transform their lives as they faced the world ahead, filled with both promise and peril? As the sun ascended into the azure sky, filtering its light through the humble wooden beams, the air hung thick with silence, laborious thoughts pressing upon both their hearts. Joseph looked at Mary, the weight of her revelation weaving a complex pattern of emotions within him: fear, bewilderment, and an emerging hope that whispered the possibilities of grace. In the stillness of the workshop, he gestured for her to sit on a stool, a simple act that carried with it the intention of anchoring their swirling thoughts. He placed the unfinished piece of wood aside, allowing his hands to rest in his lap as he pulled his gaze from the towering doubts that haunted him. Tell me more, he urged softly, the very act of asking something he had not believed he would do in the face of such a miracle. What was it like to meet the angel? Mary took a breath, inhales and exhales casting her into a sacred space where truth and vulnerability intertwined. It was as if the air crackled with divine energy. She began, her voice taking on a reverent quality. His countenance was like light itself. I felt both fear and peace, fear of the enormity of the message, yet peace in the reassurance that I was not alone. The angel spoke not just to me, but for all of us, echoing the dreams of our ancestors, reminding me of the promise given to our people. Joseph leaned forward, captivated, his heart cracking open just enough to allow the seed of belief to take root. What promise? He inquired gently, drawn into the narrative as if it were a thread binding their very destinies. The promise of deliverance, Mary answered, remembering the stories of old. Do you recall the tales of our forebears? The prophecies that spoke of a Messiah who would come to save us? The angel said that this child would fulfill those prophecies. He will be called Jesus, and through him, God's love will abound. A quiet tension settled around them as Joseph processed her words. The implications hung in the air like the sweet-scented smoke of incense wafting in the temple. With each sentence, the fabric of their lives wove tighter with the accelerating urgency of fate. Yet a new question began to flicker in the back of his mind. How might this child, born in such ordinary circumstances, carry the weight of such an exalted prophecy? Mary, he murmured, his brow furrowing, if this child truly is the promised one, what does that mean for us? What does it mean to raise him? That is the mystery that lies before us, she whispered, the fire of her conviction burning bright. We will nurture not just his flesh, but his spirit. We will teach him the stories, instill within him the values of compassion and love. Perhaps our task is not merely one of caretaking, but of preparing him to embrace the world with the authority of grace. Joseph stared into her eyes, searching for the anchored faith that would illuminate the uncertain path ahead. He felt a rising tide inside him, the stirring whispers of hope beckoning him forward. But what are the doubts? What will happen when our people hear our tale? Can we bear their disbelief? In our hearts, we carry the truth, Mary offered, the intensity of her gaze a steady flame against the storm of uncertainty. It is said that faith moves mountains. If we embrace this calling, perhaps we can invite others to see what lies beyond the horizon of their understanding. We do not have to bear this alone. In the moments that followed, the sun cast ribbons of light through the workshop, enveloping them both in a warmth that felt ethereal, almost like a blessing. They sat together, contemplating the depth of what it means to believe in a promise that resides beyond human comprehension. As they began to plan the future and what it might hold, another question flickered to life in Mary's mind, a whispering echo amidst the thrill of divine possibility. If faith could bridge the chasm between doubt and acceptance, what kind of love could they cultivate to nurture the one destined to change the world? And as they ventured deeper into the strange unknown, she wondered, what sacrifices would they be called to make to fulfill the destiny they had now embraced? As the days unfolded, the air thickened with an unspoken urgency, cradling the small community in which Joseph and Mary resided. Whispers flowed like wind through the narrow streets, laden with gossip and speculation. Families gathered under starlight, exchanging stories tinted with skepticism, while the young couple navigated their own inner tempest. Joseph found solace in his workshop, each stroke of the chisel against wood resembling a meditative prayer. With every carving, he sought clarity, yet the weight of the prophetic dreams felt like an anchor rather than a guide. The tools around him, each one a piece of his lineage, stood as witnesses to both his craftsmanship and the turmoil deep within Point One evening. As dusk painted the horizon in hues of gold and violet, Mary entered the workshop with a sense of purpose. Joseph, she began, her tone invoking seriousness, I believe we are called to reach out, to seek guidance. He paused, the chisel resting between his fingers. What do you mean? I spoke with my cousin Elizabeth today, she confessed, glancing down shyly for a moment. Her upcoming child is also seen as a miraculous sign. She too is aware of the weight of her calling. I think perhaps we could find strength in unity. Joseph lowered his gaze, contemplating the implications. Elizabeth, once barren, would now bear a child destined to herald new beginnings. The connection between their two miraculous circumstances throbbed with the promise of divine intervention. Yet, what if our paths diverge? He pondered aloud, the fear of isolation creeping in. What if the world outside sees us as mere jesters to a grand story? Mary stepped closer, her presence soothing. Together, in faith, we will face whatever comes. Perhaps our meeting can be a testament, a convergence of hope manifesting in love. If our journeys indeed mirror the prophecy, then we ought to embrace this as a sign to strengthen our resolve. Underneath the veil of fear, Joseph sensed a flicker of courage. You believe that love can make the impossible possible, don't you? I do, she assured him, her warm smile glowing with conviction. It was love that brought the angel to me, love that ignites the flame of belief. And conversely, it may be love that teaches the world to see. As dawn approached, their discussion evolved in a silent prayer, each moment woven with questions hovering just beyond the edges of faith. Would the journey they embarked upon witness not just joy, but the heavy burden of scrutiny? Could their collective voices bring comfort to a world choking on disbelief, chaos, and uncertainty? In the quiet chamber of the workshop, encapsulated by wooden beams and lingering scents of cedar shavings, they prayed for wisdom, for understanding, and for the ability to nurture the seed of divine purpose nestled within their union. At the breaking of day, Mary shared one final thought, her eyes reflecting the soft strokes of sunlight that poured through the window, bathing them both in warmth. What if, together, we are to sow seeds of faith among all who hear our story? In doing so, could we plant the roots for not only our child's greatness, but for the reawakening of our people? Joseph nodded slowly, absorbing her words, yet a foreboding question loomed within Hima's shadow, trailing the light of their hope. Was it truly possible to open the hearts of those steeped in tradition to accept a transformative truth revealed through their fragile circumstance? And as they both braced for the trials to come, Joseph pondered what deeper mysteries awaited them on their path, steering ever closer to their appointed destiny. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its warm embrace upon the small town, Joseph and Mary set forth on their journey to visit Elizabeth. The dirt path lay before them, flanked by blossoming fig trees and olive branches that whispered secrets carried on the breeze. Yet, as they walked side by side, an invisible thread of doubt tugged at Joseph's heart. "What do we tell them?" he remarked, his voice laced with uncertainty. "How will others understand our story, and will they not scoff at our declarations of divine visitation?" Mary turned to him, her countenance radiating a peaceful resolve. "Our truth is not dependent on their acceptance," she replied gently. "It stands on its own, woven into the very fabric of our lives. We must speak not just with our words, but with our hearts. Those with ears to hear will listen." He mulled over her words, feeling the weight of a truth he was still struggling to comprehend. Together, they neared the home of Elizabeth, where the blossoming of new life had already begun to weave its own narrative. Joseph's heart pounded like a drumbeat, echoing the apprehension that accompanied every step. Upon arriving, the door swung open with the rejoicing laughter of Elizabeth, her eyes sparkling with joy as she cradled her swelling belly. "Mary, Joseph," she exclaimed, drawing them into her embrace. "You have come. The moment your greeting reached my ears, the child within me leapt for joy." Mary smiled, and for a moment, every worry melted away. In that sanctuary of shared joy and purpose, a new layer of their journey unfolded. Yet still, Joseph watched, his heart fluttering at the weight of possibility. Would this meeting indeed be a tangible testament of their divine calling? As the women conversed, sharing the miracle of their lives, Joseph stood aside, observing the radiance illuminating the room. The atmosphere buzzed with divinely inspired warmth, and he felt the stirrings of faith alongside his lingering doubts. Witnessing such a connection between Mary and Elizabeth, he yearned for clarity amid his shadows. "Let us offer thanks," Elizabeth suggested, gently urging both of them to join hands, "for what has been birthed and what is yet to come." As their voices rose in prayer, invoking the name of God and attesting to his goodness, Joseph found himself enveloped by the grace of the moment. The spiritual mystery hung in the air like incense, reminding him that prayer could transcend doubt, could pave the way for miracles yet unseen. "Blessed are you among women, Mary," Elizabeth prayed, her voice imbued with the weight of prophecy. "And blessed is the fruit of your womb. For the world shall know that through you redemption approaches." As she spoke, a tremor coursed through Joseph, igniting the flame of hope nestled quietly inside him. Maybe their vision could indeed unfold into reality, But the underlying question murmured, still could love conquer the uncertainty that sought to stifle their message? After prayer, they spoke of their joys and fears, of Elizabeth's miraculous conception and the doubts that surrounded them both. "You are not alone, dear cousin," Elizabeth said, her hand clasping Mary's firmly. "Together, this is our testament. Do not be afraid. The God who delivers miracles also equips us to share them." Joseph listened and felt his spirit stir. Perhaps the sacred kinship of their circumstances would forge a bond strong enough to withstand the scorn lurking in the shadows. He longed to become a vessel of truth, but what if the echoes of disbelief drowned out their message before it even took flight? As daylight began to fade, illuminating the room with a soft glow, the three of them shared stories of their lineage, tracing the heritage of faith that breathed life into the promises of old. Yet, somewhere amid their laughter and focus on the miraculous, a question remained potent in Joseph's heart. Would their narratives, intertwined by faith, resonate beyond the boundaries of their small town? Would the world open to embrace the profound mystery unfolding around them? With the weight of apprehension stirring against the backdrop of hope, Joseph gazed out the window at the horizon. What lay ahead, a path of certainty or a veil of enigma, remained unclear, and he pondered, could the kaleidoscope of divine experiences be enough to draw together the hearts of those willing to believe? As the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, casting their soothing light over Elizabeth's home, an air of expectancy enveloped the gathering. Joseph and Mary found solace within the sacred space, breathing slowly as they took in the profound bond forged between their hearts and the miracle that brought them together. Elizabeth's presence was both a grounding force and a reflection of the divine plan unfolding before them. Let us remember, Elizabeth whispered softly, a trace of wisdom beneath her flowing words, the stories that shaped our faith. For in every tale, God's hand is at work, teaching us lessons of courage and vulnerability. Mary nodded, her eyes softening as she recalled tales passed down through generations, the stories of Miriam's courage, Sarah's laughter, and Hannah's fervent prayers. Each narrative had imparted strength and hope to countless souls. Yet still, the gravity of their own unique story weighed heavily on Joseph's heart. In the tranquil glow of the humble abode, he turned to Elizabeth, seeking the reassurance he craved. "Tell me, dear cousin, how did you find the courage to embrace this miracle? Were there times when doubt clouded your heart?" Elizabeth looked deep into Joseph's eyes, pondering the question as if recalling the echoes of her own fears. "Ah, Joseph, doubt is a visitor that many of us know too well. When the angel appeared to me, I feared who would believe such a divine promise. But in that moment of uncertainty, I clung to prayer. I sought the light, and one prayer led to another, unveiling layers of truth. The warmth of her honesty stirred something deep within Joseph. How often had he allowed uncertainty to overshadow the flickering flame of faith? "What, your husband, Zechariah?" Joseph asked, curious about the source of the strength that seemed to envelop Elizabeth so effortlessly. Did he not also struggle with belief? A shadow danced across Elizabeth's face as she recalled her husband's initial disbelief. "Indeed, he was silenced for a time," she replied. "Yet in that stillness, God completed the work of transformation within him. It was in waiting, being steeped in silence, that he found a truer understanding of God's promise. Doubt still lingered, but it was joy that ultimately gave rise to faith." Joseph absorbed the weight of her words, the landscapes of doubt and belief intertwining in the storytelling moment. If Elizabeth's journey revealed that silence could cultivate growth, perhaps his own uncertainty could also blossom into understanding. Mary's gentle voice broke the stillness. "What if this unique union we share our stories, coming together, serves a greater purpose? Might our challenges foster connections that reach far beyond these walls?" Elizabeth smiled, her eyes bright with understanding. "Indeed, the Lord weaves our threads together to create a tapestry far richer than we could ever imagine. We may bear the weight of our own narratives, but together we shine much brighter. As the evening deepened, Joseph reflected upon their shared experience, the tapestry of faith woven from threads of divine promise. Each moment of vulnerability ignited a flicker of hope, forcing him to confront his own inner turmoil. Could their revelations reach into the hearts of those who had yet to encounter such a miracle? In the shadows of the room, as laughter echoed and prayers united their spirits, Joseph felt the youthful sense of wonder reawakening within him. Perhaps, amid their collective humanity, lay the key to a connection that transcended mere disbelief. However, the nagging question hung in the air like incense from their earlier prayers. Would the beauty of their intertwining tales break through the barriers of pride and skepticism, igniting the hearts of many to embrace the miraculous? And if so, who among them was meant to play a part in the unfolding mystery of divine love and redemption? As dawn broke over Elizabeth's home, rays of light crept through the modest windows, mingling with the gentle sounds of morning. The warmth of the sun poured into the room, illuminating the faces of those gathered within. Mary stirred first, blinking against the brightness, as thoughts of the night's conversations lingered warmly in her heart. The intertwining stories of faith, her own, Elizabeth's, and at the edges, Joseph's, felt tangible and alive, as though they were threads in a divine fabric. Joseph, still shrouded in the remnants of fragmented dreams, caught the soft glances of the women. The conversations from the night prior echoed in his mind, stirring a hunger for clarity he longed to satiate. He rose from his place, knowing there was much to unravel in the light of a new day. "I es it not curious," he began, his voice laced with wonder, "that we are here, bound together in this sacred space, each of us carrying a promise that appears too grand to believe? What if there's something in the very act of sharing that strengthens our bond with the Creator?" Elizabeth's gentle smile encouraged his thoughts. She placed her hand over her heart, resonating with the profundity of his words. "Indeed, Joseph, speaking our truths can form connections that stretch far beyond our understanding. Every shared prayer, every moment of vulnerability lays a foundation for faith that cannot be easily shaken." Mary, marveling at the two interconnected narratives before her, felt her spirit lift. It's almost as if we're called to awaken something in one another. Perhaps our stories intertwined, and yet so personal, carry the whispers of God's messages meant for others. The sun illuminated their gathering, revealing not just their faces, but the shadows of their insecurities. Intent on breaking the silence, the three joined in prayer, their words spiraling upwards like incense, becoming a fragrant offering filled with vulnerability and hope. As their voices mingled, Joseph felt a stirring within not unlike the quickening of life he perceived in Mary's womb. He pondered the essence of belief. Was belief a singular act, or rather a continuous journey shaped in communion with one another? A flicker of understanding ignited within him. What if our prayers reveal not just our desires, Joseph suggested, but also the contours of our individual journeys, each echoing in the hearts of those who hear them, creating ripples that could awaken the slumbering spirits around us? Perhaps the beauty of faith lies not solely in miracles yet to come, but in the sacred act of sharing our uncertainties and hopes. As he spoke, Elizabeth's voice filled the space. Faith does not dismiss doubts. It engages with them. The act of prayer, of speaking to the divine, can transform uncertainty into wisdom. Sitting between the two, Mary closed her eyes, envisioning a world stitched together by shared stories and collective prayers. What could happen, she pondered aloud, if we went beyond our fears and embraced the uncomfortable unknown? Will we find not just acceptance, but also revelation and strength in the most unexpected of places? The atmosphere shifted, growing thick with possibility. Was it possible that through their shared vulnerability, they could touch the hearts and lives of those beyond their own? A deeper understanding seemed to weave its way through their collective bray of the realization that they were not merely chosen to bear these miracles alone, but to become conduits of hope for others. However, as their words hung in the air, a remaining question lingered in the hearts of all three. How could they embody and share their miraculous tales in ways that would awaken faith and connection among the countless others longing for light in their own darkness? And would their intertwined destinies fulfill the promise of grace written upon their lives? As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a golden glow upon the earth, the three continued to share their thoughts, each word weaving a tapestry of understanding. There was a sense of urgency in the air, a calling to discover the depth of the mysteries surrounding them. The conversations shifted, unveiling hidden truths beneath the simple surface of their morning gathering. Mary, her heart swelling with a mixture of hope and trepidation, spoke again. What if the very moment we shared our stories, we opened a portal to the divine, allowing others to step into the light of faith? Her voice trembled slightly as she reflected on her own experience of bearing a child who would be destined to change the world. Joseph, encouraged by Mary's insight, maintained his gaze on her with sincerity. And what if, in our vulnerability, we discover not only our weaknesses, but also the limitless strength of the Creator? There's something divine in bearing our burdens together. Perhaps it is in our recognition of sorrow that we can invite joy to break through like the dawn. Elizabeth, feeling the weight of the words being exchanged, whispered, "The road we walk is often laced with suffering, but we must gaze beyond it. Is there not a purpose in our pain that beckons us to listen more deeply? What if we were to glean wisdom from these moments, crafting them into offerings that others might learn from?" Stirred by his companion's reflections, Joseph thought aloud, "In every struggle lies an opportunity for profound revelation. Our lives can serve as testimonies, each trial and echo through time meant to strengthen the faith of others. If we can cast our worries into the light of honesty, the divine will reveal the grace at work even in our fears." Listening intently, Mary pondered their thoughts. "The angel spoke to me of great joy, yet I realize now that joy often feels intertwined with challenge. What if our joy, once revealed, was meant to illuminate the paths of those engulfed in darkness? In our journey, there may lie guidance for others' own divine encounters." Suddenly, Elizabeth's expression shifted as she recalled the miracle manifesting within her own womb. "And think of what it means for our children, Mary. They, too, will live under this promise. The stories we weave now will be the tapestry out of which their own faith is nourished. Can we not invite them into this conversation, showing them the beauty in our shared struggles and triumphs?" With renewed vigor, Joseph felt a stronger pull to his own convictions. Yes, if we can reflect on the examples set before us, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they were not without doubt. They bore witness to moments of hesitation and triumph alike. It tells us that our journey is part of a greater narrative. The room, warmed by the sunshine and the fervor of their dialogue, filled with a palpable energy. They shared a collective sense that their gathering was not merely about themselves, but rather a flicker of something divine. As the conversation drifted towards the day ahead, a silent question lingered, heavy with anticipation. How would they, mere individuals, become a beacon of hope for countless others? How could their intertwined path of miracles illuminate the hearts of those who yearned for faith, yet found themselves lost in shadows? What would it take to transform their personal revelations into a lasting legacy of belief? As the days turned into weeks, the humility of their lives transformed into the richness of shared faith. Mary, Joseph, and Elizabeth grew closer, their hearts intertwined amidst the shadows and light that surrounded them. The world outside continued its tumult, heavy with skepticism and noise, yet within their sanctum of faith, a quiet revolution brewed. Each evening, they gathered under the stars, their prayers rising like incense, binding their hearts in belief that transcended fear. The echoes of their stories resonated with those who ventured close enough to listen, awakening a longing for connection and understanding in a fragmented world. The ripples of their hope began to reach distant shores, stories whispered from ear to ear, igniting flickers of faith in those who had wandered far away from the promise of grace. Yet, as the auspicious time of Mary's delivery approached, doubt still cast long shadows over Joseph's heart. Amidst the joy of anticipation, the weight of fear clung to him like a thick fog. What if the world does not recognize the significance of this child? He fretted one night, the stars twinkling above them like witnesses to the turmoil within. What if they fail to see what he carries? Mary clasped his hands, her grip firm yet tender. Have you not seen how the stories of our lives have already begun to transform hearts? This child is not simply ours. He is a gift meant for all. Every life he touches, every heart he reaches, has the potential to awaken a part of them that has long been dormant. The conviction in her voice soothed his restless spirit, and he found solace in the unity of their purpose. One particular night, as they sat around the flickering light of a modest fire, Elizabeth's husband, Zechariah, arrived with news from the outside world. His silence, once a result of doubt, had transformed into a wealth of wisdom as he embraced the miraculous changes ahead. The people are restless, he shared, his voice steady and calm. What you carry is being felt, albeit quietly. Some are shaken awake, while others still dismiss it all as folly. But this child will be a sign that cannot be ignored. In the subsequent days, as Mary began to feel the labor pangs grip her, an ethereal sense of calm blanketed the hearts of those gathered. They had spent countless evenings sharing their hopes and fears, forming a sacred community that breathed life into promises long awaited. That on the night that Mary's time arrived, the air hummed with divine expectancy. She and Joseph made their way to the nearest inn, their breaths deepening with the rhythm of labor. Yet, as they arrived, they were met with the familiar symbols of societal dismissiveness. There was no room, no welcome embrace, just cold judgment and the clattering of uninformed rejection. When the last innkeeper turned them away, despair threatened to squeeze Mary's heart. But in the softening twilight, she remembered the courage that had brought them this far. "This is where our faith becomes alive," she murmured, seeking Joseph's eyes. "We will make a way, no matter how humble it may be." Joseph, buoyed by her strength, led her to the stable where animals breathed gently in the darkness, and a profound peace enveloped the surroundings. In that humble setting, amidst the hay and the tender sounds of nature, the world outside faded as the miracle within Mary pulsed with divine purpose, and as the night deepened its embrace, a breakthrough surged through the atmosphere. With the first cries of a newborn echoing through the stillness, the heavens themselves seemed to ring out with harmonious glory. In that tender moment, joy broke free from the confines of expectation, illuminating the darkness with the brilliance of hope. Touched by the sheer unlikelihood of it all, Mary cradled her newborn son, her heart swelling with the promise of grace that was now tangible in her arms. "His name is Jesus," she whispered reverently, feeling the weight of generational promises fulfilled against the backdrop of overwhelming silence. News of the miracle spread faster than wild. Whispers could carry. Shepherds came, drawn by celestial proclamations that lit the night sky like a beacon of hope. They arrived, faces shining with disbelief turned awe, and knelt at the feet of the miraculous child. "This is the one," they declared, "the Savior who was promised. Peace on earth and goodwill towards men." Joseph looked at Mary, awash in the wonder unfolding around them, his heart swelling with gratitude. This is just the beginning, he realized. Soon, wise men from distant lands journeyed, following a bright star that seemed to sing the very essence of hope. They brought gifts befitting a king: gold, frankincense, and myrrh, tokens that recognized the significance of the child who would change the course of history. In that moment, as the characters of their story converged, the essence of what they had longed to believe, the miracles born of faith, became a living testament not just to them, but to the world. Those once wrapped in shadows began to bask in the light of an unexpected truth. The transformation was not just of the night themselves, but of the hearts that had wandered, clouded by disbelief. The birth of Jesus resonated in a cosmic echo, weaving together the fabric of humanity in a style as old as the prophecy that foretold it. Years passed, and the story of hope continued to unfold through the lives. He touched each moment a divine invitation to awaken faith. And so it was, this child, born in an unassuming stable, became the herald of love, teaching mankind that miracles are not confined to the extraordinary, but can flourish in the most humble of beginnings. That in time, as they scanned the horizon adorned with hope, Mary and Joseph understood that their journey had only just begun. They, along with Elizabeth and Zechariah, were to become the keepers of something that would transcend to me, a legacy forever imprinted on the hearts of those yearning for a sign. As the sun set once again, Mary whispered softly to her child, "You are the light of the world." And with those words, the promise spoken over them, all love conquering fear, faith transcending doubt, became the powerful revelation that reverberated through the ages, inspiring all to believe in the possible, the miraculous, and the profound beauty of a faith shared among us.